So I recently finished reading the book Feeling is a Secret by Neville Goddard. I'm pretty blown away by some of the concepts in this book and how much they actually resonate with me. And what's interesting, this book was written in 1944, but some of our most recent discoveries in quantum mechanics and biology and neuroscience and psychology support the exact same concepts in this book written almost 80 years ago. Now this book's only 28 pages, but it has some very powerful messages in it. Today I'm going to run through what I think are some of the most powerful takeaways from this tiny book. Now let's start with page 1 of this book, chapter 1, Law and its Operation. And he says here that consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. Consciousness is the one and only reality, not figuratively, but actually. Now, I think there's actually two different ways that we can interpret this sentence. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. Now, there's many who believe that consciousness is required in order to manifest this three-dimensional world. There actually is some science that does support that concept. We're all pretty familiar with the double slit experiment. They send photons down a chamber and there's 2 slits that they can go through. When we don't observe it, those photons act as if they were energy, pure energy. And when they could pass through that those 2 double splits, they create an interference pattern on the other side as if they were pure energy. But then when we observe them and we want to actually see them going through the slit as energy, then they instantly turn into particles and they go through the slit as particles and create a very different pattern on the other end. And so many people cite this as evidence that you need consciousness in order for these particles to manifest into what they are. And without us actually observing them, everything is just in a state of probability. And again, quantum mechanics, there are some evidence of this, that everything is in a state of probability. You know, we were taught in high school that the electron revolves around the nucleus. Quantum mechanics tells us that that's not true. It doesn't actually circle a nucleus. It's actually a field of probability, and the electron instantaneously pops into existence wherever it wants to. And so many people believe that you need an observer. They call this the observer effect. You need an observer for anything in order to manifest into its physical form. So if a tree falls in the woods, doesn't make a sound if nobody's around to hear it, this school of thinking says no, and the tree doesn't even fall in the woods until somebody is there to observe that it's already fell. Pretty deep stuff. Now, there's another way that you can interpret this sentence. Let me read it again. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. Now, I've talked in other videos how during my meditations, I've been able to get my awareness past the physical world, past my physical body, past my mind, and my awareness is in a state of absolutely nothing. And if you hold that state long enough, that nothing soon gets filled with this powerful, vibrating, pulsating energy. And one of my biggest takeaways was that this energy deep beneath us, inside of us, it's not just inside of me, but it's inside of everybody else. And many people teach that that energy is actually inside of everything, every particle, every atom, every grain of sand, every tree, every rock, every Facebook post is inside of everything. And again, there is a lot of science supporting this as well. We recently, I think in 2012, they discovered the Higgs Boson and the Higgs field. And what they discovered is that the Higgs field is this energy field that permeates everything, every molecule, every atom, and it gives life to the fundamental particle. So you can stimulate the Higgs field and then you get an electron or a top quark or a bottom quark or a muon or a positron. These fundamental particles that can't be divided into anything smaller, they rise from the Higgs field. And by stimulating the Higgs field is how they created the Higgs boson, which was evidence of the Higgs field. And so what they're discovering at CERN and the Large Hadron Collider is that there really is a quantifiable, tangible, measurable energy that permeates everything and everybody and gives rise to particles. And so a lot of people will take this a step further. And what they say is that this energy that is everything and is inside of us actually has a consciousness, it has an awareness, it has an intelligence. So from that perspective, let me read this statement again. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. Consciousness is the substance of the entire world. Consciousness is the one and only reality, not figuratively, but actually, right? So pretty interesting, and I think that this is still a very prevalent concept 80 years later. People are still talking about this exact concept, and there is some evidence supporting it. Now, he goes on to say, talking about the subconscious mind and how we can kind of program our subconscious mind. Control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of your ideas and feelings. Ideas are impressed on the subconscious through the medium of feeling. Not ideas, no idea can be impressed on the subconscious until it is felt, but once felt, be it good, bad, or different, it must be expressed. So saying that when we have thoughts in our mind, and let's say we're using language in our mind or imagery in our mind, that is not how you make an impression on the subconscious. Subconscious can't interpret those images. All they can interpret is the feelings, the emotions. And he's saying that in order for you to have an impression on your subconscious, you have to have a strong emotion. And, Dr. Joe Dispenza often talks about this as well, that you have to have an image in your mind and you have to feel the feeling of that image as well. So let me go on. I'll go a little deeper into this. And he goes on to say that by control of feeling is not meant restraint or suppression of your feelings, but rather the disciplining of self to imagine and entertain only such feelings as contributes to happiness, right? So he's saying here that the idea is not for you to be like a robot that doesn't have any feelings or you have to suppress all your feelings. It's more along the lines of what feelings do you want? Right? Do you want to feel anxious and fear and, self-doubt? Do you want to live in a state where you have all these feelings, or do you want to live in a state where you feel happy and you feel full of love and gratitude and appreciation? And if you really think about this, I think most people are going to say that they want to feel these more positive emotions. A big aha moment that I've had in the last few months is that you are actually capable of feeling any emotion that you want at any time and literally on cue. If I said that I want you to pause and feel the emotion of gratitude, right? Just appreciation, you can do that. If I say I want you to feel the emotion of love, you can sit there and you can say the word, you can envision somebody you love, you can feel those emotions. And that was a really profound impact on me, that I can feel any emotion that I want at any time. Now, the question here is, are there benefits to feeling one emotion over another, right? Are there benefits of feeling gratitude and appreciation and love versus fear, anxiety, hatred, envy? Are there negative consequences to feeling these feelings? And the answer is actually yes. And this is very scientifically based. Most of these negative feelings trigger the fight or flight mechanism in your mind, which triggers cortisol. Cortisol and adrenaline are your two primary stress hormones, right? You feel anger, you feel fear, anxiety. This is absolutely going to trigger cortisol and adrenaline from your two adrenal glands. Cortisol is a perfectly fine hormone, but when you have prolonged levels of cortisol day after day after day after day, it absolutely it's very well established as associated with many negative health consequences. Cortisol actually pulls the blood away from your digestive system and puts it into your muscles, right? Because it's a fight or flight. You have to run or you have to fight with it. Cortisol, so that because of that, many people who are in elevated states of stress for a long period of time often have digestion issues. Cortisol actually triggers the release of ghrelin as well. Prolonged levels of cortisol increase ghrelin. In other words, when you're stressed out, you eat more. We've all experienced that. Cortisol also has an inverse relationship with melatonin. If you have elevated levels of cortisol, it suppresses your release of melatonin, which helps you fall asleep at night. So just by having these negative emotions of fear, anger, greed, this type of stuff is going to release a lot of hormones in your body that's going to trigger the fight or flight mechanism. Now, when you look at hormonal profiles, I really look at it as a spectrum from fight or flight to recovery and digestion, and kind of where you're at in that spectrum based on the emotions that you're feeling. If you're feeling a lot of negative emotions, you're definitely on this end of the spectrum. But if you're on this end of the spectrum, you're feeling love, gratitude, appreciation, you're releasing very different hormones into your body. If you're feeling love, your pituitary gland is going to release oxytocin into your body. This is the hormone of love. All right. If you're feeling relaxation and at peace, you're going to release some melatonin into your body. And this is going to trigger, or this is going to be the optimal condition for your body to digest food and recover and heal itself. And there's many studies showing that practitioners of meditation, advanced practitioners, after a meditation, they have increased levels of IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, and GH, growth hormone. And these are two very critical hormones in recovering and repairing your body. And so when you go back to, why would you want to feel some emotions over others? There are some emotions associated with your body healing itself and recovering, and there's other emotions associated with the fight or flight mechanism, where it is literally taking resources away from your body so they can't heal itself, and it's putting itself in a state of stress. So there really is a lot of benefits to controlling what emotions that you feel. And frankly, you want to feel the emotions associated with rest and recovery and digestion. This is love and appreciation, happiness, and peace. I went on a little tangent there. What was I saying? So by controlling of feelings is not meant to restrain or suppression of your feelings, but rather the disciplining of self to imagine and entertain only such feelings as contributes to your happiness. It goes on to say that do not dwell on the imperfections of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with these limitations. What you do not want done unto you, do not feel that is done unto you. And so Dr. Joe Dispenza often talks about how your life is a reflection of your thoughts. And that's pretty similar to what he's saying here, that if you are feeling these negative emotions, that's going to have an impression on your subconscious mind. And I'll keep reading. He goes a little bit deeper into some of these concepts. So he says that every feeling makes a subconscious impression, and unless it is counteracted by a more powerful feeling of the opposite nature, it must be expressed. The dominant of two feelings is the one expressed. I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. To feel I will be is to confess I am not. I am is stronger than I am not. So he's sort of talking about affirmations here in a way that are a similar concept to affirmations. If you want to heal yourself, you want yourself to be healed, you have to feel the emotions, and that's how you tell your subconscious mind. Now, if you look at the placebo effect, this is a very fascinating effect, and I think that there is no concept more studied than the placebo effect. The placebo effect literally shows that your mind can heal your body, right? It can heal your body of ulcers. It can lower your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure levels. The placebo effect can literally cure partial blindness. It can literally shrink tumor cells. Literally, it can cure depression, anxiety, fear. It can lower pain. All of this has 100% been shown that the placebo effect can induce all these great benefits. And the placebo effect is literally your mind doing this. That is the evidence that your mind that is capable of healing yourself. There's nothing more studied than the positive effects of the placebo effect. And I think that kind of resonates with what he's saying about how you have to make these impressions on your subconscious. So if you're at a doctor and he's telling you, I'm giving you this new medicine, this new cure that's going to shrink your tumors, you are feeling the positive emotions of that, and because you believe that he's telling you the truth, and you're making that impression on your subconscious mind. And going back to the placebo effect, one of the theories is that it comes down to the hormones that your body releases when it has these beliefs. So if your doctor's giving you a pill and you believe that you are being healed by this pill, your body is going to release all the hormones associated with that, and that's what actually is the catalyst for the healings. That's one interpretation of the placebo effect. And so I really like this statement that he has here, that I am is a more powerful statement than I am not. And so what he tells you to feel is that I am healthy is stronger than I will be healthy. So you don't want to say I will be, someday I will be, because that's acknowledging that you are not right now. Instead, you want to say, I am healthy, right? I am right now, I am healthy, I'm healing myself, I am powerful. And that is a much stronger impression on your subconscious mind. And he's kind of alluding here that saying that I will be could actually have detrimental effects on your subconscious, because that's you acknowledging that I am not. And he goes on to say that sensation precedes manifestation and is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. Your body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. Emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, are the cause of all disease. So I agree with this. Well, mostly. So there's kind of two ways that you can interpret this. So he's saying that one, your thoughts are creating your reality and are literally attracting things to you. That's kind of one way to interpret this. The other way, though, is that your thoughts are literally triggering the release of hormones throughout your body. This is a very profound concept that most people go their entire lives without ever realizing that every thought that you have triggers a series of hormones from the different glands in your body. So if you think about love, your pituitary gland is going to release oxytocin. You think about something relaxing, your pineal gland will release melatonin. You have your thyroids here, release T1, T2, T3, T4, which regulate your metabolism. You have your adrenal glands down here, right? You think negative thoughts or fear, anxiety, your adrenal glands are going to release cortisol and adrenaline. You have your gonads, which release testosterone and estrogen. You can pretty much trigger any of these. You can turn them on just with your thoughts alone. Any thought you have, if you want oxytocin, you just think about a loved one and your body will release oxytocin. If you want, if you think about sex, your body's going to release all the hormones associated with sex. If you think about fear or anger, your body's going to release cortisol. If you think about jumping out of an airplane, your body's going to release adrenaline. Any thought you have triggers a release of hormones and other chemicals in your body. And there is much evidence that some of these hormones can absolutely cause disease, right? If you, especially the stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, you ask the doctor how many medical conditions are caused by stress or made worse by stress, they're going to tell you virtually everything. Dr. Joe Dispenza says 95%, and the other 5% are genetic disorders, right? Those are the only ones that are not exactly affected by hormones. The other 95% are caused or made worse by stress. And you literally could replace the word stress with cortisol and adrenaline, two primary stress hormones. So if you look at something like heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, shingles, diverticulitis, all these things are literally caused by stress. This is what the medical literature will tell you, that stress can cause all of those things, plus a whole lot more other diseases. I've even seen that, if you have a traumatic event, stress can literally make people go blind. This is a very real thing. They have a traumatic event and they literally lose their vision, right? Stress is the root of many of the diseases that we have. And even if it's not what caused your disease, stress can absolutely make your disease much worse. This is a very real thing. This is the cortisol and adrenaline. And you need to be aware that you can release these two hormones anytime with your thoughts. On the other end of the spectrum, though, if you want to enter your body into a state of recovery and repair, you can think thoughts that release the hormones associated with that. So it's interesting that he's talking about this concept almost 80 years ago. He's talking about this exact same concept, probably before they knew about a lot of these hormones. But now there's a lot of science supporting this, a lot of biology supporting these exact concepts. So let me read some of this again. I want to read that statement one more time. Sensation precedes manifestation, and it is foundation upon which all manifestations rest. So that there is, he's talking a little bit more about manifesting things in your life, I think, but you can interpret that as you're manifesting these hormones, essentially. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and the visible world. Your body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. Your body is a filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. If you feel all these negative emotions and you're releasing all these detrimental hormones into your body, your body's going to be a reflection of that. Emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, are the cause of all disease. And I think that's pretty interesting, suppressed emotions. So he's saying that many of us feel emotions and maybe we don't verbalize them, or maybe we don't actualize them in our mind, but we're still feeling those emotions. And nonetheless, all emotions are chemicals, right? The emotion of love is oxytocin. The hormones of anger is probably a combination of cortisol, adrenaline, maybe some testosterone, right? All emotions. Hunger is ghrelin, right? Any emotion that you feel is a series of hormones in your body, and so that's pretty interesting that he's talking about suppressed emotions and how we could be really happy on the outside, but we have these emotions that we don't acknowledge and are still there, and these are the chemicals, releasing chemicals in our bodies, whether we want them to or not. He goes on to say that thinking feelingly only of the state you desire to realize. So feelingly is a very weird word. That's the problem with reading older text sometimes. Thinking feelingly. Feeling the reality of the state sought and living and acting on the convictions is the way of all seeming miracles. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. I like that. What you must acquire then is a reflective control of the operation of the subconscious. That is, control of your ideas and feelings. Now, I've talked before about how one of the biggest benefits I've seen from doing daily meditation for about 8 months now is what neuroscience calls metacognition. And metacognition is the ability to be aware of your thoughts and have control over those thoughts. One of the most profound realizations I've had in the last year is that not every thought that pops into your mind is you. It's not from you, the free will inside of your mind. A lot of those thoughts are induced by the hormones in our bodies. Let that sink in for a second. Have you ever seen somebody that they get really angry? Maybe a car cuts them off and they're so angry and I'm all like road raging. And then maybe their spouse is in the car and they snap at their spouse, right? They're having those negative emotions and yelling at their spouse because of the adrenaline and cortisol and testosterone running through their bodies. That is literally impacting their thoughts and inducing thoughts into their mind. If I were to hook you up to an IV right now, and I were to exogenously introduce the hormone profile of anger, right? Adrenaline, cortisol, some testosterone, and then I ask you, how are you feeling? You're gonna say angry, right? You're gonna have these negative thoughts because of these hormones. If I were to instead induce exogenously the hormones associated with love and peace, maybe some melatonin and some oxytocin, I say, how do you feel? I feel in love, man. Life is great. I feel happy, right? The hormones of your body directly induce thoughts into your mind. And most people go their entire lives never realizing this, right? They live in reaction to their environment. Something triggers a hormone in their body which induces a thought, and they think that thought is theirs, that thought is from their own free will. There's like two voices in your head. As crazy as that sounds, you have your free will inside of your mind, and then you have the thoughts that are induced by your body, right? And most people, the vast majority of people, give in to these thoughts. Great example. If you've ever tried doing a diet, I started diets in the beginning of the day. It's like, all right, I'm eating healthy. I'm not drinking soda. I'm eating healthy today. And then later on, it's like, oh, come on. There's this voice saying, come on, man, you had a stressful day. You can start tomorrow. Just one soda is not going to hurt anything. Just have, one drink, man. It's not going to be a big deal. That's probably mostly ghrelin right there. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. It could also be striving for dopamine. You get a little dopamine kick when you have a sugar rush or something like that. But your hormones have a huge impact on your thoughts. And this is a very profound concept that I've only in the last 12 months that I've really discovered this. Most people go their entire lives without discovering this. And so my point was that with metacognition, the ability to be aware of your thoughts and have control of your thoughts, I am now more easily able to figure out which thoughts are me and which thoughts are from my body, right? And I can say, no, I'm not going to eat soda today. Or for me, I had a bit of a drinking problem, and I can say, no, I'm not going to drink alcohol today. No, I'm not going to feel angry, right? Somebody cuts me off, and suddenly I get a rush of adrenaline and cortisol, and I want to get worked up. I say, no, I don't want those thoughts. Get out of here. This is a very real ability, and it comes from these states of deep meditation, right? When you're in a deep meditation, you're trying to focus on your breath or focus on being nobody, nowhere, no time, and you have these thoughts that flutter in. You have to develop the ability to push those thoughts away and put your focus, control your focus on what you want it to control. It's a very real, tangible skill that absolutely crosses over into our three-dimensional world. And so what he was saying here is that a change in feeling is a change of destiny. What you must acquire then is a reflective control of the operation of the subconscious, that is control of your ideas and feelings. So in other words, he's talking about metacognition, being aware of your thoughts and having control of your thoughts and control of your emotions. More importantly, control of your emotions. Chance or accident is not responsible for the things that happen to you, nor is predestined fate. Your subconscious impressions determine the condition of your world. The subconscious is not concerned with the truth or falsity of your feelings. It always accepts as true that which you feel to be true. So yeah, I think that's pretty profound right there. Let me go on before I kind of get my input on that though. Because of this quality of the subconscious, there is nothing impossible to man. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and feel as true, the subconscious can and must objectify. Now, there's a lot of overlap between these concepts and what Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches. Dr. Joe, says that your reality, your life is a reflection of your mind, and that he has this one meditation I love, where tuning into new potentials. You enter into a deep meditative state, and then he has you envision the future that you want and feel the emotions that you want. And he says that, if you're in this state and you're feeling the emotions, whatever you desire must come true. It is the law, right? That's what he says. It's very similar. Whatever the mind of man conceives and feels as true, the subconscious can and must objectify. So they're talking about how to manifest things in your life. You have to not just have the imagery, you have to have the feeling of that as well, and that's how you make impressions on your subconscious mind. Now, talking about manifestation, right? I'm very open to those concepts. I really am. There's not as much scientific evidence supporting that, I would argue, as there is the impact of your hormones on your body and your health. But, what they're saying is that there is an energy that permeates everybody, everything, right? This energy, you could call it the quantum field or the unified field. It could be the Higgs field, right? It could be any one of these energies. It could be, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force. It could be any of those. There's other forces out there that we haven't even really fully discovered yet beside the four fundamental forces. But it could be any of those, and they're saying that you can have an impression on those and attract things to you by having the thought, the image, and feeling the emotion. I'm very open to that concept. It's not as much evidence in literature supporting that as there is of the effect of your hormones on your body. But I do want to point out that this book was written 80 years ago, and many of the recent discoveries that we've made are supporting a lot of these concepts in this book. So just because I'm saying that there's not as much evidence right now, it doesn't mean the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years we're not going to make those scientific discoveries. That's why I am still very open to these things. So he goes on to say about the subconscious, it accepts the feeling impressed upon it, your feeling as a fact existing within itself, and immediately sets about to produce in the outer or objective world the exact likeness of that feeling. So again, he's talking about how your thoughts can manifest in the physical world, not just in your body, because your thoughts absolutely have a physical manifestation in your body in the form of hormones. He's once again, though, talking about how you can physically manifest things in your life, and it's by influencing your subconscious and feeling the emotions of that which you desire. To impress the subconscious with the desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. So again, I like what he said before about not that I wish I was healthy, but I am healthy, right? And just that slight distinction there are two different hormonal profiles that get released, and I think those hormones are what then have an impact on your subconscious, according to what he's saying here. The manner of expression of the difficulties involved are not to be concerned by you. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this as well. He says that you have to envision the future that you want, but don't get bogged down in the details of how it is going to happen, right? You don't worry about how, just worry about what it is that you want. And he's saying 80 years ago, Neville Goddard is saying, the manner of expression of the difficulties involved are not to be concerned by you. Therefore, if you dwell on difficulties, barriers, or delays, the subconscious, by its very non-selective nature, accepts the feelings of difficulties and obstacles as your quest and proceeds to produce them in your outer world. I think that's really interesting. And it goes back to this concept that like every thought releases hormones and chemicals in your body, and you can't necessarily like trick your mind. And it's what I mean by this. Have you ever been with somebody who's really worked up and angry, and he's full of testosterone and adrenaline and cortisol, and you tell him, hey, calm down, man, calm down. And he snaps back at you, I am calm. He's clearly not calm. He's saying the words, he's verbalizing that. He's not feeling those emotions. And he may even do that a little bit more passive aggressively. He may say something like, I am calm, Malcolm, right? We've seen people do stuff like that. They're not calm, right? They're saying the words, they're going through the motions, but they're not actually feeling those emotions. And I think that is pretty important here. You can't trick your subconscious. You can't tell your subconscious one thing, but then feel the emotions of something completely different here. And that's kind of what he's saying here as well. Let me read it again. Therefore, if you dwell into difficulties, barriers, or delays, the subconscious, by its very non-selective nature, accepts the feelings of difficulties and obstacles as your request and proceeds to produce them in your outer world. I like that line there. As your request, almost like you are requesting things from your subconscious and from the universe by the emotions that you feel. It goes on to say that to feel a state of as hopeless or impossible is to impress the subconscious with the ideas of failures. So if you're trying to manifest something and you say, I'm probably guilty of this, right? Honestly, if I say, well, how is that possible? How am I going to manifest something? You start questioning it. That is leading to those hormones of you questioning. And I probably am guilty of this, to be honest. I am a little too analytical at times, a little too pragmatic. That's the truth of it. And I'm on a journey myself, and I am trying to figure this stuff out. But I tell you, one thing that I've always loved is when you hear the same message from multiple sources. And when those multiple sources are almost 80 years apart, that kind of gives more credibility to those messages. Which is something that's pretty impactful for me. So guys, I want to say that responds to persuasion rather than to command. I like that. So it's talking about your subconscious, that it responds to persuasion, not command. You can't tell your subconscious, manifest me health. No, you have to persuade it. This is kind of a good way of looking at it. It says, so by assuming the feelings that would be yours were you already in possession of your objective, your subconscious is moved to build the exact likeness of your assumption. For only through feeling is an idea subconsciously accepted. And he says here that mastery of self-control of your thoughts and feelings is your highest achievement. And yeah, let that sink in. Mastery of your self-control and your thoughts and feelings is your highest achievement. This is kind of a journey that I'm on. This is, again, talking about metacognition, being aware of your thoughts and aware of your feelings and aware of the health impacts of your feelings on your physical body. I think that's pretty important. Now he has two more chapters. This one here talks about sleep. And this is kind of an interesting concept that he talks about in this. He says that, when you're entering into sleep, this is when you're entering into the world of your subconscious. And that the thoughts and images that you have in your mind right before you fall asleep are going to have an impact on your sleep, an impact on your, more powerful impact on your subconscious. Now, I used to have trouble sleeping. I used to have all these racing thoughts, and they would keep me up all night long. I think about work and stress and anxiety and fear and money and everything, and I couldn't fall asleep. And one thing that I found really helpful was I started listening to podcasts by like Neil deGrasse Tyson and other astrophysicists and physicists and people from CERN and everybody. And I started listening to these podcasts and interviews while I fall asleep. And I'd listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about black holes and quantum fields and the expansion of the universe. And I would dream about those concepts while I'm sleeping. And so he's talking about a very similar concept here of how you can reprogram your subconscious by doing something similar right before you fall asleep. So it says here that, how would I feel were my wish realized is the feeling which should monopolize and immobilize your attention as you relax into sleep. How would I feel were my wish realized? So again, if you want to manifest health or money or relationship, feel those emotions right before you fall asleep. A lot of people, they wake up in the morning and they like reciting affirmations. He's essentially saying you shouldn't do that first thing in the morning. You should do that right before you fall asleep to have those affirmations impacting your sleep and your subconscious more effectively. Once asleep, man has no freedom of choice. His entire slumber is dominated by his last waking concept of self. And I've personally experienced like that, man. If I'm watching a TV show or I'm watching a YouTube video right before I fall asleep, that's what I'm going to be dreaming about. And so for me personally, I try not to watch like violent, action-packed TV shows right before I fall asleep. So otherwise, I'm going to be dreaming about those concepts as I sleep. So this is a very real thing that I've personally experienced. I've never really thought about trying to manipulate that and use that to my advantage by, I guess, reciting these affirmations before I fall asleep and try to feel those emotions before I fall asleep. So he says that your subconscious, whose natural state is sleep, sees you as you believe yourself to be, and whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, the subconscious will faithfully embody your beliefs. So this next line is one of my favorite lines in the entire book. It says that you are an eternal dreamer dreaming non-eternal dreams. Let that sink in for a second. That's like something I should get as a tattoo, right? You are an eternal dreamer dreaming non-eternal dreams. So let me try to break this sentence down, because it sounds, that's a beautiful sentence, but at first it may sound like a riddle. And I think I figured the riddle out though. You are an eternal dreamer, right? I think this goes back to this concept that we have this energy within inside of us, right? And I've experienced this energy through meditation. Some call it the unified field or the cosmic intelligence. You can reach a pure awareness of this energy through some of these meditations. And this is implying that this is an eternal energy. This awareness or this consciousness, this energy is eternal. So you are an eternal dreamer. Dreaming, as in that we are creating our reality. Consciousness is required for reality, according to him and according to many others, a non-eternal dream. So we're dreaming up this life with our consciousness, and this is non-eternal. We have a finite time to live, I think 80 years on average, right? So you are an eternal dreamer, dreaming non-eternal dreams. I love that sentence. I very well may get that as a tattoo. He goes on to say that all objective, visible states were first subjective, invisible states, and you called them into visible by assuming the feelings of their reality. The creative process is first imagining and then believing the states imagine. So again, like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, that your life is a reflection of your mind. He's saying that you are creating the circumstances in your external environment. If you're feeling depressed, and you're feeling, doubt and anxiety and fear, you are attracting things into your life that are going to reaffirm that. If you're feeling love and peace and happiness, you're attracting things into your life that are going to reaffirm that as well. Yeah, really interesting concept. The world cannot change until you change your conception of it. The subconscious receives impressions only through the feelings of man and gives these impressions from the expressions. So again, he's saying that the only way to communicate with your subconscious is with your feelings and emotions, not with your thoughts, and not with the external world. Now, your thoughts can trigger your feelings, and the external world can trigger your feelings, but it's not your thoughts that are actually impacting your subconscious. It's your emotions, it's the chemicals, it's the feelings. Do not waste one moment in regret, for to think feelingly of the mistakes of the past is to reinfect yourself. Turn from appearance and assume the feelings that would be yours were you already the one you wish to be. Feeling a state produces that state. You will rise believing that you are a free agent, not realizing that every action and event of the day is predetermined by your concepts of self as you fall asleep. Your only freedom then is your freedom of reaction. You are free to choose how you feel and react to the day's drama, but the drama, the actions, events, and circumstances of the day have already been determined. So it's saying that, if you wake up and your life is a reflection of your mind, right? Very similar to what Dr. Joe says, and that throughout your day, your only choice is how you react to your life circumstances. And how you react is either going to reinforce those life circumstances or create new life circumstances for you. Through your ability to think and feel, you have dominion over all creation. Your conception of yourself as you fall asleep is the seed you drop into the ground of the subconscious. Dropping off to sleep, feeling satisfied and happy, compels conditions and events to appear in your world which confirm these attitudes of mind. So next section of the book, he talks about prayer. Now, there is a lot of God talk in this book, but I want you to replace the word prayer with meditation. That's a little bit more accurate to what he describes as his interpretation of prayer. So just replace that word with meditation, or maybe replace that word with reflection, right? Kind of thinking about some of these concepts. So he says that prayer, like sleep, is also an entrance into the subconscious. So again, you could say meditation, like sleep, is also an entrance into the subconscious. Prayer is an illusion of sleep which diminishes the impressions of the outer world and renders the mind more receptive to suggestions from within. So again, meditation, that's very accurate, right? Diminishes the impressions of the outer world 100%. And makes your subconscious much more suggestible when you're in a state of meditation. Yeah, 100% that's true. Prayer is not so much what you ask for, but how you prepare for its reception. The only condition required is that you believe that your prayers are already realized. So again, not that they are going to be realized, but feel the emotions as if they are already realized, that they are already in your life. The moment you accept the wish as an accomplished fact, the subconscious finds means for its realization. So you have to feel the emotions first of the future that you want, and that is going to draw that future to you. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this very similar concept. The perfectly disciplined man is always in tune with the wish as an accomplished fact. The perfectly disciplined man or woman is always in tune with the wish as an accomplished fact. He never entertains a feeling which does not contribute to his happiness, for feelings are the cause of the actions and circumstances of your life. So not only do these negative emotions have a negative physiological effect on your body, right, and they cause dis-ease and they have a negative health consequences, they're saying that these negative emotions are also creating negative circumstances in your life and manifesting in your life, Whenever your feeling is in conflict with your wish, feeling will be the victor. So again, you go back to somebody who's really worked up and angry and says, I am calm, right? You can say those words, but you're not feeling those emotions. The emotion is what wins out in that situation. You have to feel the emotion as if it is already accomplished. To yield successfully to wish as an accomplished fact, you must create a passive state, a kind of reverie or meditative reflection. So even in 1944, he's talking about prayer using that verbiage, but he's really talking about meditation. When this passive state is reached, imagine that you have realized your wish, not how it was realized, but simply the wish fulfilled. Imagine in picture form what you desire to achieve in life. Then feel yourself as having already achieved it. Again, this same concept is pretty core to Dr. Joe Dispenza's teaching. He teaches in his meditation, tuning into new potentials. It has you going into a deep meditative state, then envisioning the future that you want and feeling the emotions of you achieving that future. Not that you will achieve the future, but that future is already achieved and manifested. And that's exactly what he's describing here, except in lingo and verbiage from the 1940s. So let me read it again. When the passive state is reached, imagine that you have realized your wish, not how it was realized, but simply the wish fulfilled. Imagine in picture form what you desire to achieve in life, then feel yourself as having already achieved it. Call your desires into being by imagining and feeling your wish fulfilled. When you emerge from the moment of prayer, it is as though you were shown the happy and successful end of a play, although you were not shown how that end was achieved. Dr. Joe emphasizes this point as well, that you don't focus on how it will be achieved. Just focus on the achievement itself. Let the universe figure out the how. Let them figure out the mechanisms bringing that into life. You just focus on the feeling of achieving that goal. And he goes on to say that there's a definite feeling associated with every idea in the mind of man. So again, that goes back to this concept that every thought releases chemicals and hormones in your body, right? Biology teaches that to us today. So him kind of associating, making that connection in the 1940s is pretty interesting. There's a definite feeling associated with every idea in the mind of man. Definite feelings are emotions, or emotions are hormones. Capture the feeling associated with your realized wish by assuming the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of the thing you desire, and your wish will objectify itself. You never attract that which you want, but always that which you are. Not that which you want, but that which you are. Don't say mantras like I will be healthy. Say I am healthy. Don't say I will be rich, I will be successful. I am rich, I am successful. Instead of believing in God or in Jesus, believe that you are God, you are Jesus. He that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also. He that believes as I believe, the works that I do, shall he do also. Right? I love that concept. Don't believe that there is a God. Believe that you are God. And, that's this energy that's deep inside of us that anybody can achieve through meditation and permeates all physical matter. Many people call that God. Many religions interpret that as God. Even the Higgs boson and the Higgs field, they call the Higgs boson the God particle, because the Higgs field literally is an energy that permeates everything and gives rise to these fundamental particles. And you are connected to that, according to many of these literatures. And so I'm pretty impressed with this book. It's a very short read. It's 28 pages. I'll have a link down to it in the description if anybody wants to check it out for themselves. And a lot of the concepts here really resonate with me. And I see a lot of these same concepts coming from other schools of teachings about this as well. And I think that the title of the book says everything, right? Feeling is the secret. You have to feel the emotions. The book and the movie The Secret came out 10 years ago. Everybody is going crazy about it. And it really focuses on you envisioning the future that you want. What it does not emphasize or not strongly enough is that feeling is the secret. You have to feel those emotions of it already being accomplished, not that it will be accomplished. And I love that concept. It's something that I'm trying to do in my own life right now. I'm not as successful at manifesting things in my reality. I'm going to be honest. And, you know, you can probably just tell that I'm a little bit more analytical, a little too analytical at times. And I think that I personally need to let go and just accept that these things are true and that my visions have already come to life. Not that they will, and not focused on how will they, but that they already have and that they're already here in my life. And that's challenging for me. I got to learn to kind of let go and not focus so much on how these things are going to happen, but just feel the emotions and just accept that they have happened, they have come into my life already. And if you want to know what my experience was like when the first time I ever tapped into the unified field in a deep meditative state, and kind of what the ramifications of that experience were like on my life, check out my video I did right here. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual videos like this and updates on my own spiritual journey. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you over in the next video.